Hey everyone, Travis here at BlizzCon 2014. I'm joined by Alan Dabiri, who's the lead software engineer on Heroes of the Storm. Thanks for joining me. I actually had a chance to talk to Chris Siggety last year, and now feels like the game has changed so much during that time, and you guys just recently announced closed beta. First question is, what is the difference between a closed alpha and a closed beta for you guys? Because, I mean, at the end of the day, it might feel a little similar, right?
Yeah, for us, the reason why we called the initial phase a technical alpha is we really wanted to kind of emphasize that we're still building the game, we're feeling it out, we're testing out our server infrastructure, and we're really trying to see all the elements that we need to put in to support this game. Now that we're heading into closed beta, we feel like we've got the base game figured out. We've got our base level of the heroes that we're going to have, the battlegrounds. We've also got a lot of our features. It doesn't mean the game is done. There's still a lot more that we're going to add to the game, but we're much farther along than where we were when we started the technical alpha.
Now, along those lines, we're starting to see you guys put in a lot of the systems, like the ranked play. You were talking about a little bit in the panel today about the lever system that you guys are sort of exploring. You know, there are other games, I know you guys don't like the MOBA term, but there's other games out there similar to hero brawlers, right? And I'm just curious how much you have looked at those existing games for, you know, maybe inspiration on the systems that you guys have, since I think that this kind of genre has like a very unique style of things that you have to deal with in terms of the social aspects.
Yeah, definitely. No, we've played all those games. I mean, we're huge fans of this genre, and so we've played a lot of these games. We've looked into the way that other people have dealt with this, both in the genre and outside the genre. Some of those things we've thought about, we've explored. Right now, we're going for a couple of different takes. Well, I mean, the biggest thing for us is just the game design itself. We feel lends itself towards a different play experience, but we'll also explore some of those game features that would try to combat some of the more community elements of the game, that where people who are toxic might cause, you know, other players to not have as much fun.
Yeah. For the lever system, for instance, you started to talk a little bit about that. I know you haven't really given too many details, and it sounds like that's still being developed. But when you look at that, do you see any issue where maybe like if you encourage people to stay in the game long enough, or to you discourage levers enough that there's not that many, that like the queues for these games are going to get really long for them, or it might discourage them from continuing to play the game?
Do you mean if levers then have no other levers to get matched up with?
Yeah, exactly, right? It could extend the queue times, right?
So just to explain a little bit about what that system is, basically we're talking about if you leave a game, we will match you up with other levers to play together on your team. It doesn't actually mean that we'll match you up against other levers for the opposing team.
Okay.
So you don't technically need a full 10 players. It might just be fill out the rest of your team with other levers.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, though, if it truly was such a small number that they had a hard time getting into games, I actually think we've won then.
Okay.
And those few players that couldn't make it into a game, unfortunately, they're the outliers.
Yeah. So does that mean that maybe the team that goes up against a team that doesn't have a bunch of levers on it, they're like, we got the lever team, guys, it's going to be an easy win?
I'm not sure that we're going to like call that out to let you know that it's a lever team, but
the moment you start to see 2 or 3 guys leave, you're like, oh, it's one of those.
If they continue along with that style of play, then yeah, you'll know when people are just leaving a game. Yeah. Either you think you're doing awesome, or they're a team of levers.
Yeah. Now, whenever I talked to Chris last year, there was a little bit of discussion around the competitive esports stuff. And obviously you guys are a company that has a heritage of these esports titles. At the time he said, well, you know, we're still kind of figuring out how the community will approach the game and if they're interested in it. But here you guys are holding a tournament, lots of notable past esports players participating. Where are you guys at in terms of, you know, feeling about the game in terms of an esports title or maybe a competitive title?
Sure. At the end of the day, like, we're going to support this game in however the community wants. So I think that's what Chris was speaking to previously when you talked to him, is that if a lot of our games from an esports perspective, they've developed organically. The community has shown us that, hey, we really want this to be an esport. So for Heroes, it's kind of the same thing, where we're waiting to kind of see a little bit how this works out, but at the same time, we've already started seeing that. Even though we're in technical alpha, the game's not done, we don't even have everyone playing the game yet, we already see teams forming around it, tournaments starting to, you know, be played, and so we're trying to embrace that and support that as much as possible. The invitational and the exhibition games we have here are kind of an example of that. We added custom games back in, we added the initial observer mode to kind of support this, so that we can kind of see where this goes. At the same time, we're also discussing internally what we're going to do for esports for Heroes of the Storm, and we're definitely going to support it.
Okay, very good. So yeah, as you see this stuff happen, as you create the invitational here and you have this, how does that inform, where you put resources maybe for features or that kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, the esports guys and girls are always talking to us about, hey, we could really use this or that. I mean, some of our motivations of putting the initial observer mode and custom games back in the game was purely because esports was saying, look, people are chomping at the bit right now. They want to get this in as a tournament. And so we threw it back in. So we're just like in StarCraft, we embrace esports, we love esports, and a lot of features we put into StarCraft were solely just for esports. We're probably going to do the same thing with Heroes and support it in any way we can.
In terms of the free-to-play sort of like market features and in-game purchasable items and different things you guys are doing with skins and all that, how do you feel about the current model that you guys have? Are you guys pretty comfortable with that? Is that something that we should see or expect to see continue into closed beta and beyond?
Yeah, I think the model is working for us. We're still exploring it. It's still early, so this is a technical alpha. We haven't invited everyone in yet, but for the most part, we're actually very happy with the direction it's going. We feel that there's an easy way for you to jump in and play a good amount of this game. We've got the hero rotation. Depending on what level you get to, you'll be able to unlock, basically play for free 7 heroes every week. So there's a good amount of game that you can get without actually paying any money to us at all. And then over time, as you learn the game and you want to kind of keep playing some of those heroes, you can purchase them, purchase skins, things like that.
So this is kind of a maybe broader question about the company, but I'm really happy to ask you this question because it kind of ties into Heroes of the Storm. You guys have now just announced a new game. Blizzard, I used to play WoW way back, Warcraft 3, etc. During that time, you guys have gone from a company that has maybe one title that you've announced for development to now you have all these different things, many games that are continuing to be developed even after launch. What is it like? Because Heroes is kind of, not to make the pun, but the nexus of this idea of all these different titles and games and that kind of thing. What is it like to be working on this project that is tied into all this stuff that's continuing to grow? I mean, we just saw Overwatch today.
Yeah,
so.
it's awesome, and if you talk to the artists, they'll tell you it's even more awesome because they get to actually touch all the different universes. They get to bring in the characters, the heroes, the villains that you're so used to from all the different games, and bring them all into one space. And so there's a lot of creative stuff we can do. We have a lot of liberties because of this whole Nexus concept, and we're not taking the lore so specific and so seriously that you can't have Arthas fighting Raynor, things like that. So as we make more games, it just means more things to pull from. That's why we literally have this kind of unending source of heroes and battlegrounds that we can choose from.
Sort of tying into that, you guys announced, I think, 3 Warcraft universe heroes today, also Lost Vikings. What determines or, what decides where you're pulling from or what kind of heroes from all the different options you guys have?
So there's a lot of things that go into that. Some of it is what we currently need in the game. If maybe we need another support or we need another assassin, we might lean heavily on that side. The other one is what fans ask for. Like, for example, Lost Vikings. Last year when we were at BlizzCon, we had a lot of feedback. Hey, what about Lost Vikings? What about some of these older games that you guys used to make? And literally a year later, here we are, they're in the game. So there's a lot of different things that go into it. We also want to keep a nice representation across the universes. So if we're getting a little bit too Warcraft heavy, we might, bring in some more Diablo and StarCraft, things like that.
I just imagine at the Blizzard offices, you guys must have like a giant whiteboard with a bunch of names scribbled on it from all this different stuff.
Yep.
Along those lines, you guys just announced Overwatch. I actually feel like I think the background of the presentation today had one of the new heroes from Overwatch in it. What should we expect from Overwatch in terms of Heroes of the Storm?
So we don't have anything to announce yet, but just like the fact that we just got done talking about how we can pull these heroes from our other games, I would not be surprised to see Overwatch characters and heroes at some point in the future.
Very good. Actually, that about wraps up all of my questions, but I just want to thank you so much for the interview. Anything that players should expect to see or any big differences as we head into the closed beta?
I think you're just going to see more content, more heroes, more battlegrounds, more features. We talked about ranked play. We talked about the draft mode coming up. We're going to keep inviting more players. We're really excited to have everyone in this game. I know there's a lot of people who want to get in. It's just growing and growing, and you can kind of feel the energy behind it.
Well, thank you so much for the interview.
Thank you.
For everyone else, you can check out the rest of our coverage of all things BlizzCon at GameSpot.com.